something very critical could happen to the Turkish lira / Japanese yen pair. First off, read this disclaimer carefully and do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. So we go down here like that, and here is the pair. 6% from the low, but the mine is 19% pullback. So here is the big picture for this pair, and quite obviously the Turkish lira has been in a massive downtrend. We do have some kind of time cycles, but they have differed quite a bit when it comes to duration. And when you have a very strong downtrend, then it will screw up the time cycles in the sense that the rallies will be very they are not going to have much height to them, while the pullbacks, they can very quickly start early and be very deep. The thing is, we have had a very strong downtrend, but every now and then there have been attempts to form a low, which temporarily can create some interesting opportunities. Here we do form a bit of a double bottom. We do get a nice rally, but it fails eventually quite spectacularly. Then the bears get into business in a big way, and we don't really have much in the way of double bottoms. This sort of is double bottom-ish, but this low is the second low is supposed to be at the same level of the previous key low or higher. We go further down. So we have, and in this instance, we have a bit of a double-ish bottom pattern. We have a key bottom here and here, and we do get a bit of a temporary rally, but it is very temporary. But at least we did get a rally. And when you come from a very low level, then the percentages can become a bit more meaningful. So let's actually measure this move. So from here to this high, all of a sudden you have 10%, and that is significant in the Forex market. The interesting thing now is this. Here you have a key low, and this potentially could be that second low. Basically, we could have a double bottom. The RSI is very interesting. So the RSI here is substantially higher than this. That's also interesting. Am I calling this, the double bottom? Of course not. But we do have a very protracted downtrend, and at some point the bad news from Turkey will be more than priced in to the currency, meaning it will go down too much. So let's go here to the daily. Well, first off, the correlation here with the S&P 500 is minus 80%, so very negative correlation. So when looking here, it is interesting. A very key capitulation low. Here we form a bit of a different low. We have more of a rounding-ish bottom formation. But then again, a rounding bottom, it is a bullish formation. And given that it is happening here, that is fortuitous in that it could effectively be a double bottom in development. We see that the 20-day moving average has gone from being very clear resistance to now the bulls are attempting very carefully to turn it into support. Yes, we do have resistance from the 50-day moving average, which was support, then became surgical resistance. Yeah, so it's not in any sense like a roaring bullish setup, but at this point it makes sense to look for bullish opportunities, especially given that we do have, like, this pattern here looks, if we compare, like, this price action looks very different from this. Like, this is very obviously bearish. I mean, it is blatantly bearish. There's no mercy. Even here, you see that this low is lower than this one. The bears are not showing any mercy over here. But here, there's a change. The bulls are being more assertive. So yeah, I think there's a speculative bullish trade, but definitively you do want to have a clear stop. because this currency is so just smashed. Just getting up here would be a 20% move, to this previous high. So you quickly get, those very exciting moves, and a 20% move in the Forex market, that is very substantial. So here we are comparing the Turkish with the Japanese economy. So Turkey's largely free market economy is driven by its industry and increasingly service sectors, although its traditional agriculture sector still accounts for about 20% of employment. The automotive, petrochemical, and electronics industries have risen in importance and surpassed the traditional textiles and clothing sectors within Turkey's export mix. However, the recent period of political stability and economic dynamism has given way to domestic uncertainty and security concerns, which are generating financial market volatility and weighing on Turkey's economic outlook. So basically, there is pessimism here. So current government policies emphasize populist spending measures and credit breaks, while implementation of structural economic reforms has slowed. The government is playing a more active role in some strategic sectors and has used economic institutions and regulators to target political opponents, undermining private sector confidence in the judicial system. I mean, there are many other countries that have done this. I mean, this is not like restricted to. We have seen many examples of this in other places. So between July 2016 and March 2017, 3 credit rating agencies downgraded Turkey's sovereign credit ratings, citing concerns about the rule of law and the pace of economic reforms. So if you look a bit at Japan here, over the past 70 years, government-industry cooperation, a strong work ethic, mastery of high technology, and a comparatively small defense allocation, slightly less than 1%, have helped Japan develop an advanced economy. So one of the reasons why Japan doesn't really need to spend much on defense is because, America, they have this brilliant idea, that after World War II, that, Japan shouldn't have any arms, they shouldn't have their own military, and this is something that, the Japanese sort of smirked about because they knew that Japan is extremely strategically important for America. Hence, guess who has to pay that defense bill? So it's sort of like the Americans were... the Japanese were like, sure, okay, we shouldn't spend money on our defense. That would be dangerous, so I guess you have to take the bill. So yeah, this has been very beneficial for Japan. And America just has to pay the bills because, strategically, Japan is super important in the region. 2 notable characteristics of the post-World War II economy were the close interlocking structures of manufacturers, suppliers, and distributors, known as keiretsu, and the guarantee of lifetime employment for a substantial portion of the urban labor force. Both features have significantly eroded under the dual pressures of global competition and domestic demographic change. As far as demographics, there's been a lot of talk about, the demographic challenges for Japan. The key thing, though, is that if we are to solve, the ecological crisis, the human overpopulation problem, then we must have an economic system that is not dependent on growth. So all of this clamoring that, Japan needs growth. Well, that is dangerous to the ecology and health of our planet. We need a system that simply doesn't depend on population growth. And I think that this is something, it is something that the Japanese intelligentsia are aware of. And that is the point they are making, is that they are actually learning how to be a country, how to be a competitive country where you put quality above quantity, as far as demographics is concerned. So that is a very interesting development, and I do think that they will set the trend, a standard, a template that will be used by other countries, because we simply don't have any options. We currently are. It's very dramatic. There is the current mass extinction event in the nature is the most quick and aggressive we have ever seen. So yes, the way Japan is doing it is much better than what we see elsewhere.